If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schafer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of the Mind Pump, so for 52 minutes, we don't talk about fitness. We just have fun introductory conversation. So let me give you the rundown. We start out by talking about Netflix's new interactive Black Mirror.
Uh-oh.
What's it called? Bandersnatch.
Yeah, I'm out of the loop.
Yeah, unfortunate name. Some what are they called?
Unfortunate.
What is it? Spoiler alerts. So you might want to fast forward that part. Justin didn't watch it, but so he got
You guys
spoiled.
ruined it for me, thanks.
Then we talked about the Ibuprofen study. Ibuprofen is the active ingredient in Advil and how it lowers testosterone. Another reason not to take it. It may actually influence your gains in the negative.
Yeah, be tough.
Then we mentioned one of our sponsors, PRX. They make amazing home gym equipment. Well, for the month of January, 0% financing all month long. So instead of paying monthly dues to your local busy-ass, dirty, filthy gym, you can pay monthly dues and have your own home gym and just be dirty by
Work
yourself.
out naked.
If you go to prxperformance.com/mindpump and use the code mindpump, you will get 5% off your order and a free MAPS Prime program with the purchase of $500 or more, and then, of course, the 0% financing. Then we talked about outdoor gyms and how awesome they are. Adam talked about how China's monitoring system doesn't really bother him. I think it should. Adam talked about his new, what did he order? What's it called? A sous-vide way of cooking meat?
Sous-vide.
Yeah, sous-vide. Is that how you pronounce it?
I'm pretty sure.
Cooking meat in plastic. Apparently, it tastes really good.
It's a new thing.
We had a little discussion about that. But he did talk about his favorite place to get grass-fed, amazing meat. Butcher Box. They are one of our sponsors. If you go to butcherbox.com/mindpump, you'll get free bacon and $20 off your first 2 months. They'll deliver that meat right to your door. Meat to your door, Justin, your favorite type.
Give me that meat.
Then we talked about a study that showed that women are pretty mean to each other. Yep, they needed a study for that one. And we talked about my bulk versus shred survey that I did on my Insta story. I asked people if I should bulk or shred, find out which one won.
Find out if Sal's going to jump on some steroids.
Get fat.
No, we're going to stay natural. Then we talked about the CrossFit blog that I wrote, talking about why I think CrossFit is probably, why that bubble's probably going to deflate pretty soon. Let's see if it pisses people off.
Yeah.
Then we get into the fitness part of our show. The first question was, what are some good exercises for strengthening your wrists? This person finds that their wrists break when they do heavy presses. What can they do to prevent that from happening?
Shake weights.
The next question, how woo-woo are we about things like toxins, molds, plastics, etc.? What steps do we take to limit our exposure to these types of things? Do we turn off our Wi-Fi at night? Do we rub special lotion on our faces? Do we wear blue blocker glasses? I don't know. I threw that second one in there. Yeah. Let's see what happens. The third question was, if we were to train somebody from the show, My 600-Pound Life, what would we do and where would we begin? What would we start with somebody who's 600-plus pounds? And
easy.
The final question, what are the benefits of running in the sand? Are there specific benefits to doing so? Should you run in the sand if you want to be a badass, or is that just for people who live on the beach? Assholes.
Hey, Rocky did it, Sal.
Also, I'd like to remind everybody, it's January. This is the month everybody starts to want to get in shape. In order to help you out, here's what we've done. We've taken our flagship workout program, MAPS Anabolic, and we've done two things. One, we've redone it, so it's a new user interface. It looks beautiful. It's great. But we've also taken the price of it and cut it in half. So 50% off MAPS Anabolic. You got to use the code RED50 though, RED50, no space. Go to mapsfitnessproducts.com. Use that code, get 50% off. It's good for everybody. And of course, on that website, mapsfitnessproducts.com, you can look at all of our other MAPS programs to see if any other of them fit you even better. There you go. Go check it out. You'll love it.
Remember the old dial-up sound?
And and then it wouldn't work. It didn't work. Like,
and then you have to start again.
Mom, hang up the phone.
Come on, Mom, I want to get online.
How about that? Just remember picking up the phone to talk to your friends, and like, you guys remember having like you would pause to make sure someone's not picking up the phone in the other room.
Yeah.
Your friend calls and you answer, and you're like, hold on.
There was an art to
Silent,
that.
you want to hear? Yeah, no, there was being quiet because you wanted to make sure that because there's 4 phones right in the house at that time. Make sure that your mom or your sister or someone else
Can't
didn't.
just wire.
I used to try and listen in on my brother's conversations.
Right?
Did you really?
He when he was dating this girl, I was like, trying to like ninja my way in to listen to him. And then he heard me on the other line, got so pissed.
Of course.
Yeah.
I was so angry.
Yeah, that was a dick move.
Those were the days, and the phone had a cord to it, and you had to long ass cord.
Oh
Did you
my
guys have the phone?
Of
with
course,
like the,
you could go take it to your room.
Yeah, you just fucking pull it through the house, bring it into your room, get on the phone.
So speaking of like 80s and thinking about it, I watched the Netflix series Black Mirror last night.
the Bandersnatch.
Yeah, which is based in the 1984.
Tell me. Now you fuck, Justin. You were supposed
I'm gonna
to
have
watch
to
it.
hear it now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Tell me
didn't do his homework.
Tell me they're not brilliant with the way they put that together.
It was definitely.
Because I thought that was good. I
Now,
didn't think it was the greatest thing.
Did you read Choose Your Own Adventures as a kid?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I read those books as a kid. I thought it was a very, very cool way to write a movie. I don't know if you could get me to watch multiple of those. And I'll tell you why. Because the same reason why I don't read those still books as a grown-ass man is there's really not a lot of substance to it. It's a very short movie, but it's long because you have so many pathways.
Right.
But there's not a lot of substance to the movie when you really pick apart the movie. But it was definitely entertaining as fucking.
It's like a novel idea, but I can't see that taking off as like the next thing. It's kind of like a 3D.
It might with kids. It might with kids.
Well, my kid they have a Minecraft one. That's Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yeah, they do.
And my kids love it.
I've actually seen
a
that.
movie.
Yeah, it's a cartoon.
Well, it's a cartoon, a series, and so they're able
you
to
choose
like
your own
pick
adventure.
which way they want to go.
And my kids love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely
see, I
love
could
it.
totally see that taking off with kids. But there was a point with Katrina and I don't know, it's probably because it was
Because it'll take you through all of them if you want.
It does.
Did
we
you stay on it?
Yeah, we stayed on it, and we went through all of them. Because at one point it says exit to credits. You can.
So did you see the ending where where the dude jumps off the balcony?
Where he didn't jump out the window.
Yeah.
And then it pulls back, and it's just the move. It's just the show. Oh, you mean when the guy jumps over?
Actually jumps over.
Yeah. So
okay, so you got to see all the endings.
Yeah.
Or when all of a sudden he's in a movie.
Yeah.
See it? Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what I think that they
Spoiler!
did. Whatever.
Yeah.
Here's what it's your fault. Here's what I think that's
It'll still confuse the fuck out of you.
I know. It's like
Yeah,
I got
it'll-
so many options.
Yeah. No.
the thing that I think was brilliant on it isn't the choose your own adventure part because that's fun. It's how they broke what do they call it? The third wall, where he okay. Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen it, fast
the
forward. this
Netflix part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy thinks he's losing his mind. Goes to this therapist. And he's like, I don't know. He goes, I feel like I'm not making my decisions for me. I feel like someone else is doing. Like he's alluding to the fact that he knows
He's in a movie.
he's in a show.
That somebody's
show.
controlling it.
But they do it so well that you're like, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I recommend. I don't want to spoil any more for anybody else. I definitely recommend somebody watch it. And Katrina and I were definitely enthralled by it while we watched it. But I did walk away from it going like, okay, I felt like I just watched a 20-minute movie, but it took an hour and a half to watch it. And that's what the books were like. The books were great, but as I think back to them, like they were very basic short stories, but the book has to be pretty big because there's so many alternate routes that you can take through it. So very, very clever. And if you weren't somebody who grew up reading Choose Your Own Adventures, you got to watch this because that'll be a hell of an experience for someone who's never experienced
What I like
the book.
about it is because it's gotten a lot of attention right now. And so I think what's going to happen is they're going to spend more money on making them more creative, more interactive, and just smarter because it opens up a whole new route for movies and for TV. Because before you couldn't do this, right? You watch a movie on TV, it was on your VHS, it was on a DVD, or you're at the movies. You couldn't interact with it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to open up a whole bunch of new
So
creativity.
I called this a fucking like 10 years ago. Like I really thought because we used to talk. My buddies and I would talk about those Choose Your Own Adventure books. I believe that the future of movie theaters would be like this, where everyone has a voting thing on their armchair, and the majority would always win, and that's the pathway the movie would go. Like, think of that. Like, if you're watching a movie or in a theater, there's 100 people in there.
That'd be annoying.
I would be pissed.
Yeah, that'd be annoying. 'Cause you'd have a bunch of idiots.
Yeah,
like,
you'd have somebody sabotaging it.
Yeah,
and-
'cause-
Well, you wouldn't have. It's the majority would rule in that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, I know.
So even if you had 30 idiots in there, everybody's choosing. And what do you mean by idiots? It's still, no matter what, you're kind of curious about whatever pathway.
Yeah.
What it would do is it end up making you want to come back and see all the other
You'd
paths.
get the whole crowd would end up being loud about it and stuff. I guess it could be fun.
It'd be fun.
It's
yeah,
interactive,
on
right?
A totally different level. You know, it reminds me of like sort of like the first step. I was thinking in terms of like how successful video games are. And it's like you kind of control that whole experience yourself. And this is like, you know, kind of one more step in between that bridge between like watching, like just being a passive viewer versus being interactive with, you know, what you're watching.
Are they going to do this with porn?
Of course.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you think about it this way. God, this might be probably already
you always
exists.
go there, dude.
I know.
I love it.
I know.
Yeah.
Because that's where they go.
Yeah.
This might actually be. I don't know. Maybe it already exists.
It probably exists.
Where you
already.
you date a girl and like your goal is to try and have.
Pull her hair right here, or flip her over.
Your goal is to try and get
spank.
Your goal is to try and get her to have sex with you, but you have to make the right decision.
All right, she
You
could
see what I'm
deny
saying?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no, it's
Like
wrong move.
Training ground or what?
Pull finger back. You know.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Pulling the finger is not a good move,
Yeah,
Justin. For
that's
Hey,
true.
you know what? We over the weekend, and I love that you've started this thread with all the staff, and they're sending all these articles that everybody's into. And I believe it was Jackie, maybe it was you, Sal. I don't know if it was who it was. Maybe you can remind me. The ibuprofen one.
Oh, that was Jackie.
That was.
Oh,
Jack-
wait a minute. Was it? It might have been Jackie. Anyway,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
I'll check. Well, I mean, I'd like to give credit to who it was because I thought that was a very fascinating. It was a PubMed study, right? And you know, I was reading it, and right away I was skeptical of like, okay, well, you know, it took me all the way to the end before I saw the actual percentage, but I was fascinated by how much.
I sent it.
13. Oh, it was you.
Yeah, I sent it.
Like 13 to 25%. I think was what it was.
Yeah, so this study shows how taking an NSAID like ibuprofen alters human testicular physiology to produce a state of compensated hypogonadism. So in other words, it alters your balls, your testicles, in a way
nads.
that it puts them into a state of lower testosterone.
Wow.
And you know, it's funny because we've seen studies now with drugs like ibuprofen where athletes who take ibuprofen as part of their training, because there's a lot of these people who they're stiff, they're sore, and part of their protocol is to take this on a regular basis so that they can get through their training. Reduces muscle protein synthesis, reduces muscle growth and adaptations and strength and all these other things through the process of basically blocking the signaling system that tells your body to adapt, because it's the inflammatory system is one of the main components of your body's signaling system. You know, when you hurt yourself, the inflammatory response tells the body we need to heal this, and then also not only do we need to heal this, but we need to adapt in a way to get stronger. So it's like if I handle rough objects with my hand and I slightly damage my skin, the inflammation there tells my body heal the skin, but it also tells my body add another layer so that the same insult doesn't cause the same kind of damage, which eventually can turn into a callus and all that stuff.
Right.
And so we know now, taking these things for long periods of time, it reduces basically how you can progress, but now they're finding it actually affects hormones, and in this case, testosterone,
And
negatively.
a significant amount.
Yeah.
When you start, because that's what I was like, okay, so I'm reading this long old study, and I'm going like, at the end of it, it's going to be like, 1% or some shit like that. But it was, I believe it was between 13 and 23 or 13 and 25%. It was like 13% initially, and then over the course of 6 months, it was like 25%. A quarter reduction, that's a big difference. That's a significant difference. And it was off of like 600 milligrams of ibuprofen, which is not that crazy amount.
No, that's
like two. That's
a
ibuprofen.
low dose for strong anti-inflammatory effect. So if you have a headache, 200 milligrams, but if you have like an injury, the doctor will say 600 to 1,200 or 800 milligrams is what they'll typically recommend.
Yeah.
I mean, Jessica she gets migraines, and she has prescription ibuprofen. Each one is 600.
Well,
and the doctor will say take 1 or 2.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I took 3 of them this weekend because I had this massive headache, and it was right after that I read that study, so I just found it really fascinating. I was like, oh shit, I had a headache and no one had Tylenol or Advil or anything like that. Later, someone had ibuprofen, and so I took the ibuprofen, and then sure as shit, I see this thing in our thread, which of course made me read the whole thing because I just took 3 of them, and then I'm like, oh wow, it's only 600 milligrams. That's not that much to reduce that much. That's crazy.
No, and it's if you do it here and there, it's not that big. It's not,
Right.
a big deal. This is for chronic users, and there are a lot of people.
There's a lot of people that do that.
That take this stuff. I have people in my family who take stuff like ibuprofen daily.
Yeah,
which is part of the routine.
I remember there was a period where I had like really high blood pressure, and in the morning I had these like really excruciating headaches, and so I was just on this regiment of constantly taking Advil or Excedrin or something along those lines, like just consistently for that year until I got that problem addressed and dealt with, and just knowing like studies like that, and also just like how hard that is on your kidneys and your liver and everything to process it's all problematic.
It is. I think it's important that people understand that whatever Western medicine pharmaceutical you're using to get rid of a symptom isn't addressing the root of that symptom. There is no pharma drug that really addresses the root. They all address a symptom of some sort, whether it be, like pain is a big one.
And most of them are just masking a symptom.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's all they're doing. They're not
holes.
fixing something. They're just masking.
No,
it.
ibuprofen does reduce inflammation. It for sure does that.
Oh, it works.
It works on that end, but it doesn't stop what's causing the inflammation to happen in the first place.
Right, which is the point where you do want to dive deeper and get to the root, and that's why functional medicine, things like that, are great to help to try and tie you back to the root of the cause.
Yeah, if you're taking a drug like ibuprofen on a regular, consistent basis, look at your entire life and try and figure out why you need to take something like that. Try and figure that out, because over a long periods of time, the drugs themselves have negative effects. But not only that, it's whatever is causing that inflammation still has some negative effects. You might have gotten rid of the symptom of it, but there's still a problem. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it's important you look at those types of things. Anyway, so did you guys hear what PRX is doing for January, which I think is brilliant?
No. What?
Yeah. Brilliant.
What are they doing?
So January, everybody knows, big. Everybody signs up for gym memberships.
Big movement in the fitness.
Everybody wants to go work out.
So what are they doing?
Well, so average gym membership is like what, $20 to $60 a month or whatever.
I'd say 30 to 60.
Something like that. You can find a cheap gym for 20, but you're gonna end up working out with a ton of people and dirty equipment and all that stuff. And the more expensive ones are $60, $70 a month. Well, PRX was obviously one of our sponsors. That's for the listeners. They provide home gym equipment. Mm-hmm. They're doing 0% financing.
Oh, smart.
Yep. Right?
Is it just for January too?
I think so. Doug's saying yes.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, wow.
How smart is that?
Very smart.
Because you could buy their equipment so you have a home gym and then just pay monthly with no interest. You're going to pay monthly anyway, whether you go to the gym or not. But now you got your own home gym,
and then you own it at the end of your financing.
That's right. Then you own the gym. You don't have to deal with the crowds. You don't have to deal with sweaty equipment. That's not your sweat and all that other stuff.
Now, did you buy yours outright, Justin, or did you finance it just to do the finance thing?
Yeah, exactly. I did it just to see how that whole process worked, and so I did the financing, and I'm almost already done with it. But at the same time, it was so convenient that way because it wasn't like this big lump sum up front that really kind of hurt for the month. So, and it's super smooth process. I'm really happy with.
What were your monthly payments? Do you remember?
It's like it was like $100-something.
Yeah.
Mm. So, but I had put a substantial amount down. But what I loved was the different options because ceiling wise, they have a few options like for people like I know CrossFit's big with like the kipping pull up rig and all that kind of stuff, but that one is really tall, just FYI for people that are looking into it. So if you have like a garage space that has a really tall ceiling,
make sure you measure it.
You have to measure it, make sure you look into that, because then there's another one that has a pull-up bar in it too that's like it's mainly for like 10-foot ceiling. So mine's like 8-foot ceiling. And so it's like there's only one option for that if you have like a smaller setup for that. So just, be conscious of that. I had to kind of send it back, and they were like super cool about it, but I got the wrong size initially. So.
Dude, I had the best at-home workout the other day. I got up early, and it's been cold out. Now, I know people listening all over the country would think I'm stupid because we're in California, but for us, it was cold. It was like 30-something degrees outside. It was early in the morning, and I work out in my garage, so I don't have a heater on or anything like that. So I'm out there, we're out there bundled up with our sweaters. I've got chalk on my hands. My hands are cold on the bar. Jessica's wearing gloves, and we're working out. And there's something about working out in kind of harsh conditions or not super comfortable conditions. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but it really got me in the fucking mood, man. I don't know. Yeah. Do you remember those old, you guys used to watch NFL films, right?
Yeah.
The old films where they're playing football in the snow and you see the breath coming out. It's like, I felt like I was in one of those. Like, it's cold as fuck and I'm lifting. And I have this big ass sweater on, and underneath it I'm sweating, but I'm still too cold to take it off.
You're like Soldier Field.
Grip better or worse?
At first, it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts my hands a little bit.
Yeah.
But for me, I kind of like that a little bit. And I don't know if it's the whole, like it makes me feel tougher or whatever, but I feel like it's going to strengthen my hands because I was doing trap bar deadlifts. And the trap bar that I bought, this is the thing about equipment sometimes is, when they put the knurling on the handle.
Yeah.
Knurling, the way they make the knurling makes a big difference because sometimes knurling is sharp as shit.
Sometimes they cut a little too deep and it really shreds your hands up.
Oh, thanks, Doug. See, I'm going to go work out in the snow now. This is he's just pulled up Rocky running in the snow.
This
Rocky
is
4.
the only reason why what you just explained is that for you right here.
Maybe.
It's this right here.
Maybe.
It has no other logical reason other than you've watched this movie 1,000 times. So in your head, training out in the snow.
Oh,
just trying to be tough.
What a great scene. We got the Russian with his technology and his workout.
That's funny because
Rocky with this log on his back.
Yeah, my neighbor is like ex-military and like is really into like calisthenics and running and everything. And so I was leaving. I had a client at like 6:30, and so I was like leaving real early. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and I'm like driving up this hill, and he's doing sprints and everything, like with his shirt off, and it was super cold. It had to be like 10 below or something. It was so freezing outside, and he's just running back and forth. And I'm like, dude, you maniac. And I remember like I used to think, oh yeah, like that's like I want that toughness, that grit. There is definitely something to that. When I lived in Chicago, it was like you're harder.
I don't know. I feel like it's because I even like working out when it's really hot sometimes. I think it's just the added challenge, of the temperature. It's just you're not as comfortable.
Well, it's got to be good for you for sure.
Probably, right?
No.
Because there's the whole adaptation with the temperature thing.
Of course. I think there's got to be some benefit to doing it occasionally, and then you overcoming it.
Yeah, there was this one guy that follows me on Instagram, and he'll hear me talk about me working out in my garage, and he's like, "Here's my home setup," and he sent me a picture, and his shit is literally outside. Literally in the snow, and he's got and I'm like, damn, that's crazy. But
awesome.
I could see like a younger version of myself kind of being like, fuck yeah.
Well, what's funny about that? Like I've actually set up part of outside for just splitting and chopping wood and like chopping into boards and everything, just because of the power you get from that. Like it's a great way to train for power.
Well, that's why we slam medicine balls on the ground. They got that from the power and the results you get from chopping wood.
So the other part of that is a great way to add to that is you bury a tire into the dirt, like so half of it is exposed, and then you take a sledgehammer and then you hit it. Constantly.
See, I know, my dad's worked with his hands his whole life, hard labor, right? Construction, all that stuff. And I've known a lot of blue collar workers. And when I did jujitsu, I would sometimes grapple with these guys. And then you'd have guys who are gym guys who worked out with weights and that kind of stuff. And this may be just my perception, but the type of strength that those blue collar, kind of hard working people have, it felt different. It just felt harder. It felt stronger. And I don't know if it's just because when you work out in the gym, you're working out and you're comfortable. You're in comfort all the time. And those guys get used to being uncomfortable.
Just different skills.
Maybe different skills.
Different things that you're doing,
The big difference was in their hands.
Yeah.
That was always the big difference. There was this one dude that I would, every once in a while we'd roll, and he grew up as a farmer. And he was a skinny dude. He was like 150 pounds, wiry and strong as shit, and his hands were so hard.
Dude.
Like if he grabbed my hand, I felt like I'd have to get out.
The strongest people on any football team I played with were from Nebraska and just farm raised, hay baling, fucking strong sons of bitches.
Yeah.
They grow them crazy out there.
Yeah, see, so that's the thing that I think about. But the home workouts are my favorite, man. I
think I would have to have, if I did like a gym outside like that, I would have to have also the option inside. Like I wouldn't want only my.
Yeah, you like the bougie stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm all down to. I mean, I love. There's a place in Tulum, Mexico, where they have like this whole outside gym.
That's for looks though.
No, people. Are you kidding me?
It looks fun.
No, it's legit workout there for sure. They have whole sets of like these wood looking dumbbells, and you've got pull up bar. You got everything you need to get a great workout. I could dig that on the beach, beautiful sunny outside, and doing that occasionally. But I think there's times where I want to get in the gym, especially when you have like serious goals and you're being consistent. I mean, I remember during the competing time, there was plenty of times where I drugged myself to the gym. There's a difference between like training because I love to train and it's like just a part of my lifestyle. And then there's difference like when I have goals that I'm trying to achieve and it's like I have to go put this volume in. It's just part of like the schedule. And then that would be so much harder if that meant I had to go outside in the snow or do something like that. Like, fuck this today.
There's this one area in Africa. I can't remember the state that's over there. And there's these aspiring bodybuilders that live over there. And their gym is all homemade off of like scrap metal and stones. Have you guys seen these videos of these guys?
Where?
It's like these African dudes. They're fucking. They're jacked, and they're like lifting a bar with like axles on each side, or they're doing exercises with like stones because they're poor. They can't afford any equipment. So what they've done is they built their own gym, and these guys look. I mean, they're obviously natural. They can barely afford to have enough protein. In fact, I was watching Generation Iron 3. Have you guys seen that? The third one that just came out?
I didn't watch the third one.
So I only watched some of it. I haven't seen the whole one.
Is it lame or is
I like this. It's okay. I like the muscle building and strength, world. So I can always be fascinated by it. Jessica was like, turn this off. I don't like it. But so I watched some of it, but they showed these dudes in Africa who are working out and these they made them themselves. They'd find old rims from equipment or axles, and they make their own equipment in gyms, and they're working out in there. And you're looking at these guys, and they're all jacked. Yeah, and you're like, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
There's something cool about that. You're just being resourceful and kind of putting it all together where you could make a cool like workout setup for you.
For sure. So anyway, I like watching that kind of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, there was another article I wanted to bring up to you guys. I have a million of them here to read to you. So I'm going to bring up the scary one first.
The scary one?
Scary.
Yeah, well, scary for me. Stuff that I like to talk about. So check this out. We've been talking about, or I've brought up a few times, the whole AI, surveillance thing in China.
Oh, right.
Where they're trying to control their entire populace with this new social credit system. Mm-hmm. A high school in China, and I'm going to try and find out where it is. Let me see. A high school in China has installed an AI system that will read facial expressions of the students. And if the students are showing disinterest or that they're not paying attention, the teacher gets alerted.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, dude. So the kids have to here's what it sounds kind of cool at first. You're like, oh, cool. Now we can keep, see if who's doing what, whatever. But imagine being that kid. Yeah. Imagine how paranoid and crazy you would feel knowing that you're being watched constantly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
it's the paranoia.
The fear alone.
I don't know, dude. I don't know if kids give a fuck. I don't think they're thinking like that.
I think they do.
I don't think so. I hear these things and I like to play devil's advocate with it because I agree with you that I think it's crazy the direction they're going, but I could also see the benefits of that. I mean, what a great tool for a teacher to get feedback of you're losing your students. You're losing your students right now. I don't think it's this like discipline. It's not supposed to be to discipline these kids because they're fucking off. It's more like, hey, you're a teacher. You're starting to sound monotone and you're losing 50% of your class now. Here's an alert, like time to switch it up. Get them to stand up. Get them to do something else.
There's a difference, though, between knowing you need to do a good job and feeling like you're constantly being monitored. Now, imagine this.
Yeah,
Just imagine this for a second.
It sounds like they're used to this.
No, it's not about you. Dude, look, go to North Korea. They're used to that too, right? Here's an example. We've all been employed by other people at some point. Did you like it if you had a manager? Imagine you had a manager follow you around all day long. Just follow. No, I'm just going to watch what you're doing all day.
Micromanage.
Yeah, do your thing. I'm just going to watch you all day long. Yeah. At some point, you're like, let me the fuck alone. Like, let me do my thing. And if I don't perform, I get there's a level of management, but that whole like watching you all the time, like they're trying to.
Yeah, I wonder if there'll be a breaking point. Where they just are fed up and there's some kind of revolt as a result of all this like overbearing monitoring.
I think it's crazy.
I think it's very normal, dude. I think that they think it's normal. It's very weird for us, and I agree with you, and I wouldn't like that. But I think it's not. I mean, I even see the difference in our kid, the generation now. We were just talking about this the other day about my niece and like not caring that Facebook is. She works for Facebook, knows that they can go through her phone and all the stuff that she has, and she doesn't care. The generation they say they think that already now. It's like there are no secrets. Doesn't matter anymore. Everybody knows everything. It's so easy to hack and get in if someone wants in your stuff. So it's like everybody. It's just because look, it's become normal.
Well, no, it's because what's the saying? If you throw a frog in boiling water, they jump out. But if you put them in and then you slowly boil the water, they don't know they're being boiled alive and they die. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of part of what's happening. I think people they don't know the problems because they don't see anything yet. But then when shit starts to hit the fan, it's too late. Now, fuck, what do we do now? Well, you've allowed this to happen slowly over a period of time.
It's interesting because my picture of this whole thing is like this super like Minority Report kind of like high tech monitoring of everybody, and really like I saw some news. It was like a article or like somebody was out there reporting on how they were actually like getting all this information. A lot of it was just somebody that was appointed in the village to go around and like get all this information and like handwrite it down and then send it off to the state. And it's not like this sexy, like high tech infrastructure that they have yet. It's like very clunky.
Yeah. I want to take you back to the boiling water. You just reminded me of something. Are you guys familiar with the vacuum seal and then boil your steaks to like perfection?
Yeah, Enzo was telling me about that.
Okay,
what's that called?
This is now sous vide. So is that what it's called? Uh-huh. So I'm getting it right. So I told Katrina to order it today.
I want to get that.
So
too.
My brother, I've got two people now that are like just some of the best cooks in my family or that are close to me that have told me about this, and they're like, this 100%, Adam, will be the best steak you've ever had in your life, and you'll cook it to perfection every single time. And so I just got my butcher box in yesterday. I have Katrina ordering this. I'm so fucking pumped about this thing. So it comes with an app, right? I'm totally selling for this company that I have no idea, like, who they are or what. I've only been told by all these people now, and this weekend was like the kicker for me. Like, okay, that's it.
Did you try it?
No, she's ordering it today. Like the butcher box came in.
You've never tried it before?
No, I haven't personally, but they told me all about how this thing works. And so you decide like your temperature of the meat and the center of the meat is what dictates medium rare, or well done, right? So you put it into the app what temperature you want your meat. So once you figure out what perfection is for your meat, you're done. It's like you've got it now. And now it's because when you boil it in the water,
because boiling water is always consistent temperature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it can cook for you'll never overcook it. You can cook it for 2, 3, 4 hours if you set the temperature to go right to where you want it. It'll take the water to that temperature and it'll keep it there. And it's a slow cook. And then all you do is you take it out and you sear it on each side inside on a pan. So throw some ghee down, sear it for 10, 30 seconds on each side. Sucker's ready to eat.
Yeah, most like high-end restaurants have done this for a long time, I guess.
And which ones are you gonna do? The ribeyes?
Oh, I'm gonna do everything in it. You can do everything in it. And on top of this, okay, so I can set it all up, and then from my app I can control it because you want to cook it for like 2 hours. So what I'll do is like in the afternoon time, like around 1 or 2, I'll turn it on, and then when I get home, all I'll have to do is literally heat a pan up, throw it on, and I'm going to supposedly have the most amazing steak.
So here's my only reservation, because Enzo showed me this a while ago, and here's my only reservation with this: the vacuum sealed bag. What is that made out of? I know it's a type of a plastic, and can that be a problem? Because I know these synthetic components, these plastics, they've been shown to leak or leach chemicals into, that's why you're not supposed to microwave.
Well, I figure if I'm
example.
using my grass-fed butcher box, I'm canceling out some of the bad shit. So if I get a little bit of
It's like
plastic,
smoking organic cigarettes.
yeah, exactly. So I figure I'm even now. I'm good.
Doug,
So,
Doug, you're
cancels it
like
out.
the biggest cook dude around in this room, at least. Have you heard anything about these bags? If they're safe or what the deal is?
I haven't, but I have the same
Reservations?
concerns as
Yeah.
well. Because you're boiling plastic for 2 hours,
Right on your meat?
Probably not so good.
well, let's look it up. It's got to be something. So it's probably not your basic plastic. I can't imagine it's regular plastic that you're heating up in there.
Well, no, it's a plastic you cook on, but still, That's the only thing I have a reservation for. But I heard it tastes good.
I heard some. I've heard now from multiple people. It's fucking amazing.
That's what people
it's-
keep saying.
Yeah.
It's the business.
So I'm on it. I'm going to do it. I'll give you guys this feedback. Hopefully I live with the plastic. I figure I'll use the butcher box grass fed. That'll cancel it out.
yeah.
So I'll be all right.
All right, so I got an article for you. This is another article, but sometimes I love studies because you have to confirm the obvious sometimes. Mm-hmm. So here's the title of the study, and this was in FISPost, which is like a psychology publication. So here's the title of it: Women, but not men, seek to actively punish sexualized women, a study finds. So new research has found evidence that both men and women are prejudiced towards sexualized women. But only women are willing to endure a cost to themselves to punish a woman who appears to be promiscuous. So they did this study where they took people, and through the study, they were able to see if people were willing to punish another individual if they were perceived as being promiscuous at a cost to themselves. So not they would also suffer, but they would want to punish someone enough that they wouldn't mind suffering. So it was like a game where you lose money or whatever. Men didn't want to do that. Although both sexes were prejudiced towards women who were considered promiscuous. That's why you have the terms like slut and all that stuff. It was the women who were the most adamant at punishing the other women.
Really?
Yeah, which to me is, I actually posted this in the forum just to see what people would say, and it was a lot of comments. It went off. There was a lot of conversation around it, and a lot of women in the comments were like, "Yeah, this is." Some of them were saying. One of our forum members is like, "Well, I'm a exotic dancer." And she's like, women are the ones that give me the hard time. It's never men. It's never guys that give me the real hard time.
Of course not.
Yeah. And it's
Of course not.
I know it's fucked up, right?
It's not fucked up. It's pretty obvious, right?
It is obvious.
Yeah.
It's I've read a lot about this, and evolutionary scientists think it's just because for a long time sex was a very valuable currency that women held.
That's what it is.
And if you're in a tribe or a society and there's a woman that's just giving out sex for free, it devalues what you have to offer.
Well,
so then the women come
yeah.
together and they banish.
I was
going to
say, don't you feel like, too, that we're just naturally more competitive with our own sex? Wouldn't you think so?
For the things that we are
Just
competitive
period.
with.
Anything. Like I was just watching this video on Stan Efferding's page, and he's got this girl that I'm following now, and she squats like fucking 600 and something pounds.
Oh, I've seen her.
Yeah, like
That's fucked up.
Yeah, like 3 times what I can do. But I'm rooting for her. Like I'm not like like. But if it was a guy, there's a different feeling that you have about
Yeah.
it. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's more of this competitiveness that you have with another male because it's a male versus because it's a woman. I'm cheering.
I
for
mean,
her.
that's part of it.
You know what I'm saying?
But this is a very specific thing, because I think most women can, or a lot of women can identify with, not wanting to be labeled that, fine, I've wore a short skirt, now people are going to look at me a particular way, and they're under a different type of scrutiny than men are, right? Because we can kind of be promiscuous and not have the same kind of scrutiny. but a lot of it comes from other women. And again, like I said, scientists think it's because for a long time they had to control the market for sex, if you will. And if there's too much of it out there, it devalues one of their currencies, one of their powerful currencies.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why they think female humans are able to, or have sex even when they're not able to procreate, because not all mammals do that. Most mammals only have sex when they're in heat, whereas female humans have sex all the time, and they think that was a part of the way that they kept their mate around, was they were able to provide them. So it's like a currency, right? So if you've got another woman in your tribe who's attractive and banging all the dudes, you and the other women are going to come together and be like, we need to kill her. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of fucked up, but it's an obvious one. You know?
Yeah,
So that's
no,
why
I think
share
so.
that one.
Hey, what did you get as far as your results on your bulk or cut?
Oh,
I saw your post on
I'm
your.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
so it was a little bit of an experiment. So I posted on my Instagram.
I put bulk.
Yeah, of
I
course.
want you to get jacked.
Yeah,
Get
of course
bulk.
you did.
I want you to do like 500 milligrams of testosterone.
Whoa,
and put
calm down.
Put like 30
Calm
40
down.
pounds on you.
I will
Come
not-
on.
No.
Come on.
I'm good, man.
Yeah. Get swole.
So I took a selfie. I had a good workout, nice pump, good lighting. Typical Sal selfie. Everything looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Posted it, and I said, I weigh 194 pounds. Should I go for a bulk or should I get shredded? And the reason why I did that wasn't because I want, an opinion so I know which direction to go. I wanted to see what ratio of men to women would want me to bulk versus cut.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And
Were you able to tease that out?
I was. So I
okay.
didn't get the exact number, but predominantly men wanted me to bulk.
Of course.
And shred was far more women.
Yeah.
Which was obvious to me.
It's
It's just funny. I mean, I knew that was going to happen,
Yeah.
but I wanted to test it out to see.
Dude,
now the hardcore fitness people, here's a crazy thing. The hardcore fitness people, because then I would look and see, because there's a lot of people voting, right? So I looked through at least a few hundred. And when you could see that their avatar or whatever was like somebody who obviously worked out, either they're flexing or they're competing, those people wanted me to bulk. So all the people that are really into like working out wanted me to bulk. More of the everyday, especially women, said get shredded.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Dude, I weighed myself for the first time today in probably 3-4 months, maybe more. Got a guess?
How much you weigh?
Yeah.
205.
210.
196.
Holy shit!
I haven't been under 200.
You and I weigh the same almost?
196 right now.
Wow.
Yeah. The Bradley Cooper look is on full effect. It's in full
That's
effect.
actually
Doing
a-
the Fight Club by Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
That's actually technically a good old fine body weight for you.
Well, it's where part of me kind of doing this right now, my volume of training is extremely low. I'm kind of just eating when I'm hungry. I know I've said it for a long time on the forum, and everybody used to fucking talk shit to me, but it's because they came into me after I'd been training to be on a stage. My body really wants to be around this one, and I think it'll keep going lower. I'm actually soft right now, so if I were to lean out and get to a lower body,
Yeah, but you
composition-
also said you haven't been lifting that much. I wonder if you really lift, if you just composition change.
Yeah, I think that would be. You're probably right. But I still think
Because you and I are both ectomorphish.
Yes.
I mean, we both are. And you're taller than I am. So you're what, 6'3", 6'4"?
6'3".
Yeah, so you're probably, if you're real consistent pushing it, and your hormone levels are normal, you're probably going to be around 200, 205 is where I would think, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm kind of like just allowing myself to lean out kind of naturally like that. I'm cleaning the diet up starting now in January. So we'll kind of see what happens to my body composition. Picking up the training again multiple times per week, but I'm not going to go crazy. I just want to kind of see where my body kind of lands. I also just sent in my test from Everlywell too, so I just sent the testosterone one in. So I'll
see where that's at.
Yeah, so we'll see where that's all at. But I just found that interesting. I hadn't weighed myself in months.
If I'm not pushing myself in terms of my resistance training and I'm not like really lifting and feeling good, my weight tends to want to be in the one. It'll fall below 190 easily, 188, 187.
Yeah, it takes work for me to be up in the 200s for sure.
Yeah, right now I'm feeling really healthy, so I'm able to eat more, assimilate more of the food, and so my body weight's in that mid 190. And I'm not shredded right now. I'm relatively lean, but I'm not shredded. And I think this is where I know more people said bulk for me than cut, but I don't even know if I don't think I can bulk without. I don't think I can add more muscle. I've been doing this for so long. I think I've hit that peak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't think I can ever go past that anymore. Oh well.
Maybe a few pounds, but not like you're not gonna unless you take on something like a synthetic. You know?
No.
Anyway.
I'm gonna remain.
Synthetic.
I gotta stay this way, man. Because if I go on some shit, I'll want to stay at it. I'm sure. That article that blog I did on CrossFit, I haven't gotten any heat yet for it. Thought I would.
Well, it's well written.
I wanted that to happen. Like get some haters in the group and come after you.
I was very honest with my opinion. It's something that we've talked about on the show about some of the follies of the CrossFit exercise programming.
I think right now it's getting around to our audience and people that already listen to the show or people connected to us. So I don't think it's a big shock and awe. Like when you read it, I think it's well written. I think you articulate your points, and we've already said this on the show many, many times. So I don't think it's that. I wasn't expecting you to get any real controversy. Now, if it does get shared in the CrossFit community and there's more and more people that read it, I'm sure you'll ruffle some feathers. Mm-hmm. But anybody that listens to the show, they understand our stance.
I just wanted to see the counter argument, but it's kind of hard to argue like a lot of those points because again, it's pretty well thought out.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we looked at stuff like that. Do you guys know where CrossFit is? Like, are there more gyms closing now than opening? Like,
I would love to see those stats.
Yeah,
I think nationally, just from my research, nationally it's flat.
And then I know overseas it's growing.
Overseas it's growing. Nationally it's flat. Now, my finger on the pulse of it, from people who I've talked to who are in the world, the business world of CrossFit, are saying that it's starting to shrink in the U.S. That that's flattened out. Now it's starting to decline a little bit. I don't think the bubble has popped yet, but I think we're starting to see signs that the trend is dying off. And usually what happens in fitness is a trend will explode, and it gets, depending on how much value it provides, it will help determine how big it gets. Mm-hmm. Then there's a bit of a flattening out, then it pops, and then you start to get a little backlash. You know what I mean? Where people start to talk crap about it or make fun of it. Yeah. And we're not there yet. I don't think we're at that point yet, but I definitely think something like that's going to happen. I think we're going to keep a lot of the good.
Doug, can you find anything on this? I would love to hear like how many gyms in this last year of CrossFit have opened or closed, and where it's at in this past. I don't know. You know what I wonder is, has it got big enough to where it's so big, it's got so much power and momentum that they can pivot and move and start to make better decisions? Because then I also hear that side of it too. I hear people that are, that have drank the Kool-Aid, and they talk all about the great stuff that's coming down and how they're changing their views on things, and they're trying to make this better and they're trying to make that better. So, maybe it grew to a size that
most of the ones I've heard that are doing well have removed themselves from the branding of CrossFit.
That's what I'm saying. I feel
it's like I don't know if that's a win for CrossFit.
That's what I'm saying. I think what may happen is a lot of the good stuff was kept.
Now let's use that exact example with something very close to us, which is 24 Hour Fitness. And most of the really, really successful trainers are off doing their own thing and have created their own thing. Does 24 Hour Fitness still exist? I know it filed for Chapter 11 at one point, but I mean, it's still a massive company that's still around and still making tons of money.
Yeah, but it's controlled differently. Like 24 Hour Fitness owns the gyms that they own.
No, I get it, but my point of that is, the point that you guys just made was that there's a bunch of people that are no longer with CrossFit. They're doing their own thing because they're having more successful, but they were having a lot of success under CrossFit. They realized, oh shit, I could go do this on my own. Well, that's the exact same process
here's a more direct
trainer goes through when they work for
a big company. That's not a good comparison. He would be a better comparison. Imagine if the gym managers for 24 Hour Fitness had the opportunity to at some point eliminate the 24 Hour Fitness name and then put another name on it and not have to pay a fee to 24 Hour Fitness. That would have destroyed it. Imagine that. Like, you could use their name, build up your business, build up a amount of people, and then say, I don't want to pay my fee anymore. That's what a lot of the gyms are doing. Is they use the CrossFit name to grow an audience, and then they took it off.
Yeah, but with that, there's probably a lot of people that, because they know they can do that, go like, oh shit, I'm going to do that too. And they have the intentions of doing that, but they can never get out from underneath that umbrella because they're not good enough to grow it outside.
So long as the brand has the same pull. Yeah, you're right.
Right. So I think I think that it probably appeals to a lot of people because of what you just said. Like if I was thinking the same thing, I'd be like, well, shit, I don't know a lot about CrossFit, but I can totally put the name underneath it. I'll use all their programming and I'll do what they say. Hopefully that'll grow my business up. And then once I get to a point, then I'll swoop and I'll change. How many people get involved with it and start to do it with those intentions and never get to the point where they can even branch out?
It's interesting. Like there was like sort of a bunch of these leagues like that popped up for like a fitness sport league. I think it was like a super league, and then there's also Titan Games that's coming out. So.
Wow,
that's worldwide.
Wow, though that's still wow.
Yeah, that's mostly coming
growth,
from
United States down to 2 to 5% per year. Okay,
so
since 2015, affiliate growth has slowed. The United States down to about 2 to 5. So it's still getting growth year over year, bro.
Yeah, very, very, very. It's flattening out. So I've talked to
approximately 60% of them.
I've talked to a few people who have owned multiple locations, and one of the big pulls of.
Wait a second, I want to read this, dude. There's a lot of stuff in here. Hold on.
Yeah, you can read
it. It appears in the past 12 months. Well, there's it's all the questions that we were talking and asking. Doug found a good article right here. In the past 12 months, 2,500 new affiliates registered with CrossFit. I can't see because of the thing.
Yeah,
820
were in the United States. Yeah, this is isn't this the CrossFit publication? This actual publication,
Morning Chalk Up.
Yeah, it's definitely
I think
CrossFit affiliated.
Yeah, not saying that it's wrong. Just
they just do that with everything.
Yeah. So it is. It's actually so. I've talked to a few people that own a lot of these boxes, and one of the big alluring things about a CrossFit initially was its low cost of starting up. You could just open up this warehouse gym. It wouldn't cost that much. You can't do that anymore. You talk to a lot of these CrossFit owners.
Because everyone's elevating.
That's what I'm saying.
The cream rising to the top.
So there's a lot of the factors that contributed to its growth are starting to fall off. And so we're seeing this flattening out.
I've heard about that, and with the city like ordinance or whatever, like they've made it so you had to go into retail locations if you had like a fitness type of a.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they've moved it so you can't necessarily run out of like warehouse or industrial. This is what I've heard, and a lot of cities have done that.
How's our buddy Ronnie doing? I was just thinking about him when you were talking about this, and I haven't seen him pop up in my.
I know. Feed. Yeah, there's a few guys like that are good friends of mine that still running CrossFit boxes in the area. So I'm wondering how their boxes are doing.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, we've talked to quite a few people now, and off air we've shared financials with us, and it doesn't seem like. If you own one or two of these things, there's not a ton of money in them. Yeah. You're not killing it. It's definitely one of those things you're doing because you love it, right? Mm-hmm. You're doing it because you get to own your own gym. Say you own your own gym, you get workouts whenever you want. You got this little facility that you can go into whenever you feel. I think that that's more and more people are figuring that out, are finding out that, oh shit, it's really not a super lucrative business. And like Sal said, it sounded appealing at the beginning because you could get in for 10 or 20 grand.
Yeah.
You could have basically a box that would work, but that box definitely is not going to compete with some of these boxes now that are all done up and sick,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening. I think it's going to flatten out, and I think it'll start to drop. I don't think it'll go away. I think it's still going to exist. I don't think it's going to be necessarily like a bubble, like some of the other trends that we've seen, because there's some fundamentals in CrossFit that are we've talked about many times that really fundamentally affected.
I really thought that Orange Theory was going to be the death of it. I really did. I really believe that when you look at the majority, right, there's only a very small percentage of CrossFit people that are competing in the games. Like when you think of the total growth, the total amount of people that are going to these facilities, that most of them are the average Jane or Joe that wants to be in shape and be healthy.
Yeah.
And most of those people, honestly, probably shouldn't be doing a lot of the stuff that's in there. And Orange Theory comes out and does something that kind of appeals to those people, I think, a lot better than the CrossFit mentality. And so I thought that with the sharp rise of OTF, that it would do a significant dent in the business. So I wonder, because they're still on the climb.
Oh, they're growing very quickly.
Very quick. And I think a lot of that is being fed from CrossFit. People that have already decided that they like this class type setting, this group workout that's challenging, that's high intensity. Only now you get to do it in the comfort of a nice air conditioned or heated room with TVs and monitors with your name up on it and points and community. Like it's got all the same all the same cool stuff that CrossFit does. When
This article says that that now more affiliate locations are located outside of the U.S. than inside the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So the growth has exploded. And so what does that tell you? That tells you a couple different things. Either it's saturated here, the market is now bared what it's going to bear, and it's met market demand, or what we're witnessing, which is what we've seen many times in the fitness industry, not saying this is what's going to happen with CrossFit, but this is just what tends to happen, is that you get this growth and then a reversal of growth where everything kind of goes back down. So we'll see. Time will tell what's going to.
Do you think it'll forever exist?
I think.
Or do you think it'll completely die one time at one point?
I don't know. That's a good
one
question.
can only hope. You know what I mean?
I think because they did the sport in it, I don't think it will completely die. I think there's too many people that think it's fun. I think it's cool to watch. I think it's a very cool sport, and I think that because of that, even like kettlebell sport, like it's going to exist. Mm-hmm. Will it ever grow to be something massive? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to go anywhere massive, but it'll still exist because there'll be people that really love kettlebells and love training that way, and it's fun and it's competitive.
Yeah, there's always going to be room for these niche communities, like powerlifting communities, like strongman communities. Like and they'll get their time in the sun. Where like I remember strongman was way more popular back in the day. And I'm sure they got a lot more views, on ESPN and stuff, but I'm sure like it just kind of it comes and goes based off of what people are interested in.
I think the sport hinges on the good looking, fit, but attainable looking athlete. I think as long as they have these athletes that look ripped and look muscular, but kind of look attainable and have good personalities, I think that'll
stop
keep
testing.
That's already changing, though, right? That's already. I mean, they're looking more freakish,
like bodybuilders.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely. And then like that discussion we have with John Romano. I mean, after talking to him, I feel convinced that everybody is cycling steroids.
Yeah,
even the ones that don't even totally look like it are just better at cycling on and off of them than other people.
We'll see.
Eagle has landed.
Today's Quah is brought to you by MAPS Anabolic. If you're looking to maximize your overall muscle and strength, MAPS Anabolic is the perfect place to start. With a full 30-day money-back guarantee, there is absolutely zero risk. So what are you waiting for? Go to mindpumpmedia.com and get started today.
It's the motherfucking Quah.
Eagle has landed.
Quah.
First question is from 00 Silk Drop. What are some exercises for strengthening wrists?
Oh, there was a little more to this question. She said that when she fatigues doing dumbbell exercises, that her wrists start to break.
Give way.
Yeah, and this is
Common.
It's very common. Mm-hmm. It's very common with clients, and for the average lifter, maybe not so common. But then as you start to get really strong,
what do you?
It becomes an issue
because it's so common. We've all seen this for a long time. Have you ever speculated on why that is? Like why that's a common theme now?
Oh my! Well,
do you think it's because we just don't carry shit anymore?
Our hands are what connect the rest of our body to the real world, and in the real world, if you can't hold something or handle something with your hands, then you can't move it. You can't handle it. Doesn't matter how strong your legs and your arms and your back is. You can't do anything with it. And everyday life consists of typing buttons and opening car doors. And we don't even open windows anymore the same way. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when you had to open your car window. You had to crank on
That's old school.
Yeah, you had to crank on a knob. Now you just everything's buttons. So our hands are just so weak. And when they do strength tests of the population, because there's studies that show that kids are something absurd, like 20% weaker than they were just 20 years ago. It's something scary like that. Or the elderly when they test
I would
their
love
strength.
to test. I remember when I was in Chicago and I ran a lab for the strength conditioning lab, and we tested the entire campus on their grip strength, and it was so crazy. Like you'd see like just how like certain people were like very strong, but it was like a very small amount of people that had like really strong grip strength.
Well, what I always tell people is, regardless. Okay, so let me put it this way. Let's say someone's doing a chest press, and they're like, "Oh, when I'm lifting this weight, my chest and my shoulders get so fatigued. What should I do? Well, the answer would be you have to go lighter. You can't handle that weight. But for some reason, when it comes to the hands and wrists, people don't understand that. My wrists break when I fatigue. What should I do? The same thing you would do if your chest couldn't lift it, your back couldn't lift it. You got to back down. You're just not strong enough to handle that weight.
Yeah, and realize where it's about to break. And, for me, I try and really slow down the process and identify that and focus on that. And so that's an area where, okay, if that's a weakness, let me really dive into that and get into the isometric portion of that where I'm like, okay, where's this? I need to stop my movement and really focus on, being able to strengthen that.
Well, this is where your tension stuff comes in big time. This is where I do see value in doing things like, an alternating dumbbell press, where what that does, you're having to stabilize these dumbbells that you're pressing back and forth, and because of that, you're keeping tension in that area for a longer period of time than if you were to just be pressing both dumbbells together. There's a lot of value for somebody who has weaker wrists to do types of movements like this that will challenge that, and it's creating that extra tension.
And I think too, a lot of just stabilizing, one that's not super easily accessible because not everybody has kettlebells, but such a great exercise, for an overhead press with the bottoms up press, just because of the way that the weight is above your hand and the forces it provides, left to right, front to back, and rotationally, you have to stabilize a lot more as you go to press, and it really does help to focus all that around the wrist and the forearm.
Yeah, there were two bad habits that I developed as a young lifter because I started out with bad technique because I had observed it in bodybuilding magazines, and I thought that was the way you were supposed to lift. And it took me a long time to correct them. So one of them was when I would do a back exercise is I would grip the bar with my fingertips. So I wouldn't take a full grip on the bar. I'd grip on my fingertips because I would read these bodybuilders say, don't take a full grip because you could isolate your back more and squeeze your back more. Now, whether that's true or not, I started working out that way, and it got to the point where I had to use wrist straps in order to lift heavy weight. And at some point, I realized the folly in that, and so I went back to using a regular grip, got rid of my wrist straps. It took me about a year to build up my wrist strength or my hand strength to get to the point now where I could grip a weight that I could lift with the rest of my body, that my hands could also handle. The other bad habit that I developed was, and this came from watching or looking at pictures of Arnold benching, was this thumbless wrist back. Grip on the bar. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I guarantee you guys did the same thing. Everybody did, right? Yeah. Where the bar kind of sits in your palms. Your thumb is not around the bar. It's on the same side as your fingers. It's what they call monkey grip. So you're not even have a hard grip on the bar, and you press the weight. And I developed that habit for years. And then when I went to go correct it, man, I didn't feel stable with a full grip. I almost felt I couldn't lift as much. So I had to back way down. And get to the point where I could handle. Again, you got to back down because that whatever your weakest link is, that's the determining factor with the amount of weight that you're going to use. Even if the weakest link is not the target muscle group, that still is the weakest link.
Well, otherwise you have to support it with a wrist wrap or something like that to be able to stabilize it, externally. But you have to do the work. You have to get different grips that you have to get used to and adjust towards, and pick things up that are heavy and hold them and stabilize them. And it's just really real basic things like that can really help build and develop more strength around your wrist.
There's not a lot of information on wrist and hand strengthening online, mainly because it's not sexy. And a while ago, I convinced,
these wrists are sexy.
Yeah, yours are super sexy.
Wrist model.
Creepy. A while ago, I convinced Taylor to let me do just a basic forearm, hand strengthening workout video. And the reason why I had to convince him is because he's like, no one's going to watch it. Nobody cares about that stuff, which I understood.
It's a valid point.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. It's not sexy. But I also thought there's nothing else out there. So maybe because we'll be one of the few guys presenting stuff that it'll get some traction. It actually did. It got a lot of views. I don't know how many views it's at now. You would know better than me, Adam.
Yeah, no, it's up there. It's in the top 10 most viewed YouTube videos we've done.
And it's just a basic wrist strengthening, developing video. So you could check that out. I'll have Jackie put that in our show notes. But keep this in mind. There's basically maybe 4 or 5 basic things that you want to address with your hands and your wrists if you want to work them out. The first one is wrist extension. That's where if your arm is out in front of you where your palm is facing down, extension would be bringing your fingertips back towards your forearm. So not curling them down, but bringing them back.
It's like reverse curls.
Like a reverse curl, right? Yeah. That's called wrist extension. So you want to strengthen that. And you can do that very easily with dumbbells where you place your hand at the edge of a bench so your hand is kind of hanging over. You have a dumbbell and you just do, where you pull your hand up. The other one is wrist flexion. That's pointing down. That's where you curl your wrist down. The other 2 directions are left to right. So that's lateral flexion or extension. So that's where, and you can do that also with a dumbbell where you
hammer curls too.
Yeah, a hammer curl will do that, or just brace your arm on a bench, hang your hand over, and then bring your thumb up toward. It's a very short movement, and you can do the same thing with the opposite direction. And then there's grip strength, where you want to squeeze something and go through a full range of motion, where you're actually strengthening the grip. But here's the other thing that you want to consider.
See, I'm not a fan of doing isolation exercises for something like this because everything you just named, there's a bigger movement that has a ton of carryover for that. Like I would never tell someone to
deadlifts.
Yes, deadlifts would be for your grip strength you're talking about. I would do reverse curls to get what you're trying to get for extension on the wrist. I would do something where like a hammer curl for your lateral, like going back up and down right with your wrist. Like so, I would pick bigger movements that also accomplish that at the same time and just slowly progress that because I feel like there'd be so much carryover for
I agree with that. I also think too that there needs to be emphasis on a bit of like the priming element to like how can I set myself up for all these different types of movements that my wrist is capable of. So these wrist cars that we present in MAPS Prime Pro or like you see in FRC, they help to show you like sort of where the discrepancies lie, where you're not being able to produce any sort of power or control.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if you do a lot of good foundational movements, the average person probably doesn't need to do or won't need to do a lot of these movements. However, there are situations like this where, because if you read her whole thing, it's a limiting factor for her. She would probably benefit from doing some stuff with her hands and wrists. There's also the population of people, which is actually rather large, of people who have wrist issues from working on a computer, like carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel syndrome, I've had a lot of clients who showed signs of that, and through working on their hands, wrist, and also using massage, we were able to completely eliminate a lot of those issues and pain. So that I think it's still important to pay attention. But I will say this, there's different forms of strength with your muscle and with muscles. One of them is isometric strength. That one is the most valuable when it comes to your grip. For example, like if when I look at my my legs, for example, there's a lot of value in being strong and moving through a full range of motion. There's definitely value in being isometrically strong, where I just maintain a position, but that's no more apparent than with the hands.
Think about what you're doing through all these reps or exercises that you're doing with a barbell or you're doing with a dumbbell. You're holding the entire time. Like the rest of your limbs are, and your joints are, flexing, extending, but like your wrist is, you're locked in that position. And so you want to train to be able to endure, a longer period of time.
Yeah. And this is easy. You could do this if you want to work on your isometric strength for your hands. It's super easy. You can get yourself a $5 pair of grippers, which are cheap. You probably don't even need to get grippers. You can actually just squeeze a ball or something like that, but get some grippers. And then at your desk, do a few reps and then hold it for a little bit. You don't want to go to fatigue because you can overtrain your hands like anything else. But just hold it for 10 seconds, squeeze it and let it go. Do that, 2-3 times a day. If your hands start to get sore, your forearms start to get sore, you start to feel pain up at the elbow where the forearm muscles attach, lay off on it for a little while, jump back on it. You'd be surprised at how fast the hands get strong. And I did sports like judo and jiu-jitsu, which rely a lot on grip strength, because we're using the gi. I used to work on my hands all the time. One thing I used to love doing, this is a lot of fun, especially if we have any jiu-jitsu guys listening or judo guys, this is a great one. Take your gi, wrap it over a pull-up bar, and do pull-ups by holding on to the sleeves. So you're working on that.
See, now I
that
like
judo
shit like
jiu-jitsu
that. I
style.
like that. I like because there's so much carryover in something else that you're doing. And I feel like I don't think I've ever had a client ever in my life that I've sat down and done, isometric wrist type movements where I'm just sitting there doing like a dumbbell curl. That I think if this person moved away from as much, maybe I'm deadlifting with the barbell. That's about it. But all like my pressing movements and stuff, I would now move to dumbbells because of the instability of the dumbbell. You're going to get more wrist strength from that than doing like a straight barbell. I think the bottoms up press that Justin said is fucking for sure a staple movement that's in there. I think reverse curls and hammer curls and then doing like the strap pull-ups. Man, you put that into your routine.
Yeah.
And just
you can do the same thing you mentioned too with like 2 towels. Like I remember you used to do that quite a bit. And
Yeah.
Like, do pull-ups with 2 towels so you have to grip the towel and then
Yeah.
Now here's another thing too. I don't know if you guys have done this well. When I'm doing a heavy dumbbell press, if I place my hand in the middle of the bar, it doesn't feel as stable as when I slide my hand to where my hand touches the bell on one side. Is that a technique that either of you have ever used, or do you go straight in the middle each time?
Oh yeah, no. If I'm going like heavier, I definitely will slide out a bit, so it's like butted up
bracing against one side.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a little technique.
Well, you can make it if I was again trying to strengthen my wrist, actually grabbing like, so let's say I'm doing hammer curls. Now it's natural for someone to grab either middle or to the top to where the dumbbell's resting. But if I was trying to strengthen you, I would go the opposite.
On the bottom.
On the bottom.
Oh yeah.
I would challenge, because that would, as you resist on the way down, it's going to be much more challenging for you to do that. And if that's that's our adaptation that we're chasing, those are little adjustments that I would make. And see, that's how, at least that's how my brain works as a trainer. I'm running you through all your movements that I would want you training. I'm just making little variations like that. I'm going to do a bottoms up press instead of doing like a normal curl. I'm going to do a reverse curl and a hammer curl inside there. Instead of doing just standard pull-ups, I'm going to grab the T-shirts or like you said, or I'm going to do deadlifts with the axle bar. Like I'm going to do a lot of the same type of movements. I'm just going to make some subtle adjustments that I know to challenge my hands that much more.
There's one exercise in particular that nobody ever does anymore that probably all you would ever have to do is this exercise if you just wanted to work your hands and wrists a little extra, is a Zottman curl. That works kind of through the full range of motion of curling, and it's a great exercise. It was a staple back in the day. Nobody does them anymore because it's not like a bicep hammering exercise, but it does work your biceps, works the brachialis, the brachioradialis, it works the forearm flexors and extensors. It works them all.
Yeah, no,
that's a really good one. When we're talking about forearms, I know a lot of guys work out because I want to appeal to the opposite sex. Do you know when they do surveys of women?
Yes, we've talked about this.
Yeah,
before.
it's like one of the top 5 body parts that women find most attractive.
I think it falls under the
hands and forearms.
I think it falls under the arms category. I don't think it's specifically I think it's arms.
Well, what the poll that I don't remember what this was. We had a debate or something. I looked it up. I think they were saying something like when a man rolls the sleeves up and you can see his forearms, and Anyway.
Next question is from Madness Fit. How woo-woo are you guys about toxins, molds, plastics, etc.? What steps do you take to consciously limit your exposure to toxins?
This is a good question.
Yeah. Didn't you say you were doing something with your Wi-Fi at home now, turning it off?
I did. And so I think I'm probably one of the better people to ask about this, because I think Sal's the most woo-woo about everything. I think Justin don't give a fuck.
No.
And then I think I'm somewhere in the middle where I'm always trying to make conscious efforts to limit this stuff. So some of the examples of things that I'm not good about. One, Wi-Fi, like letting my Wi-Fi. I've got all the little adapters in my house, so I get like maximum, Wi-Fi in there, which I'm probably just shooting more of that shit through me. Can't be ideal, right? And I know that. So because I know that, I'm not somebody who's as weird as Ben Greenfield, where I'll have no Wi-Fi in my house because of that and make it like that. But I'm the type of person.
I hope he's weird. I hope in like 10 years we're not like, oh shit.
Yeah.
We were all smoking cigarettes and didn't realize it.
Right. No, and that's what a lot of these people that are really extreme with it believe.
Mm-hmm.
They believe that that's going to be that. I don't so much believe that. I believe that a lot of these studies that we're seeing, that all these things are starting to connect or link to cancer, I think it's an accumulation of all of it. I think microwaving your plastic. I think taking in all this artificial fucking food. I think having Wi-Fi blasted on you all the time, staring at screen. I think all these things are compounding and all the chemicals we're putting on our skin and our body. I think it's just an accumulation of all of that is starting to compound and cause these negative side effects that we're hearing about and seeing. So that being said, I don't run around with a tinfoil hat all the time, but I do try and pay attention to that. Like the other day, I caught myself, microwaving in a Tupperware, and I've done this many times. Now I know ideally I would be doing that in glass and not plastic. It's not smart for me to do that. So I'm aware of it. So because I'm aware of it, I try and make a conscious effort. Now, am I also the type of person who won't eat something because I have to microwave it? No. I mean, it's time to eat, happens to be in plastic, I don't have a choice, it's getting fucking cooked. I'm eating some plastic today. That's just kind of how I roll. It's like I'm trying to make a conscious effort all the time to minimize the exposure of all these things that probably, whether they're so bad they're going to cause cancer in my body, I don't know yet, but I most certainly don't think I'm going to try and challenge that.
You said you started turning your Wi-Fi off at night too?
Yeah, so recently Katrina and I we bought these things, I think through Xfinity is who supplies them, and because I have a 3-story, right, I put in every level there's all these little adapters. And so it shoots the Wi-Fi throughout the house. So I got fucking great Wi-Fi in the entire house. Well, on top of that, I'm sure I'm probably shooting it all over me right on top of that. And Katrina and I, I'd say about 3 months ago, and since we had this, I have this ability to, from my phone and the app, to just shut the entire Wi-Fi off. And I can schedule it like, okay, at 10 p.m. at night, I want it to shut down and then restart back up at whatever. And she swears that she feels a difference with her sleep. And I can't debate her. I definitely don't feel like my sleep is getting worse by us turning it off. And I think I've had some pretty good night's rest. And can I connect that to the Wi-Fi being turned off? I don't know yet. But I sure as shit, it's not a hard thing for me to do. I'm not using it at 1 o'clock in the morning anyways. What does it hurt me if we have the tools to schedule this thing and turn it off? Like, fuck it, I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I find funny...
Those are them right there.
Is that right there?
Yeah.
What I find funny is what we considered to be woo-woo like 5 years ago, today is like accepted now knowledge. For example, I remember distinctly, okay, I'm going to put us on blast.
Organic food?
No, I'm going to put us on blast right now. I remember us distinctly making fun of people wearing blue blocker glasses. I remember us being like, oh, God, you got to wear glasses now to block the whatever. Who cares? Just eat right and exercise.
Well, because you look like an idiot.
Well, okay,
and you know what?
I'm still going to get on board with that, though. Like, what I think is awesome about the glasses that we have now is that these fucking dorky-ass orange glasses, they look like normal eyewear.
Yeah, but besides the fact that it looks great or doesn't, if somebody had worn glasses 4 years ago when we started Mind Pump and they look clear and nice, and you said, hey, it doesn't look like you have a prescription, why are you wearing those? And they said, oh, it's to block blue light because it's not good for your pituitary and makes you produce less melatonin. All of us would have chuckled.
No, I don't. I disagree.
Yes.
I think part of what makes me,
especially you, you would have made fun of someone.
Fashionable.
I wouldn't, and this is why I wouldn't, because I think it's a bit pretentious with the orange. It's like, look at me, I'm blue blocking right now. Look at my family, and we're walking around.
It's a lot like owning the first Prius.
It's like walking around with a stringer. It's like walking around wearing a stringer tank top everywhere. That's the way I look at it. But as far as it's not the guy. It's not because
as far as why they were doing it. All of us were like, oh, that's silly. All of us were like that. And now you look at the science, and guess what? Supports the fuck out of it. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the case with everything, because there's a lot of things that we were worried about for a while, and then we realized it's not that big of a deal. But there's a lot of stuff that comes out to be true.
Organic food just 15 years ago was woo-woo.
It was.
That I'll get on board with you.
What about aluminum foil on everything? And now we're saying, oh, shit, leaches into your food, gets stored in your body, probably not a good idea. What about some of the compounds in certain cosmetics? Now, here's the deal with all this stuff, okay? Because we live in the modern world, if you sit down and make a list of all the shit that could cause insults to your body, you're going to make a list that's a mile long, and you're going to be paranoid all the time. So my advice is this. Focus on the most important things first. If you can't dial those in, you can forget about all the other stuff. Like if your diet is shit, then don't worry about, getting organic deodorant. Like I like that's not going to make that as big of a difference, not even close to as big of a difference.
Well, and back to your blue blocker analogy too. Like we talk about the big rocks and the things that make the biggest impact. And one of the things that we've talked about on this show is sleep is like up there with the most important things that you can take care of yourself. Sleep is, and that has been one of the biggest game changers for me in sleep. And that goes, and the Wi-Fi thing. I mean, Katrina is claiming that she's getting better rest because we've been turning it off like that. Hey, if that's fucking true, even if I don't notice as much like that, I care about my partner that much that I'm on board. I'm on board with this. We'll turn this shit off every single night right before we go to bed, because if it's improving your rest.
Well, there needed to be these interventions, because of the modern lifestyle and all this bombardment of electronics and, chemical exposure, all these different things. So it's like we're figuring out like, oh shit, we need to like intervene. We need to add this now to combat it, because it's not going away. We're still going to live like this.
Yeah, there's a lot of money that goes into making you believe or think that there's zero potential negatives to all this new shit that we never had before. Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's all good. First of all, the testing that we do on these types of things is limited because time is limited. The main testing actually lasts for decades. Like, we don't find out for decades that, oh, wait a minute, maybe that wasn't a good idea. But we won't know for a long time. We won't know the real effects of Wi-Fi for a long fucking time, because we haven't had broad use of Wi-Fi for that long. Yeah. We really haven't. So the things that we think are woo-woo and we make fun of now, I caution people, like, okay, that's, but also you don't want to also be this paranoid.
Right. That's
fanatic.
how I feel. I feel like be aware of all of it, and make an effort to not be an asshole about it and just ignore it and think like it is, oh, that's so woo-woo, and ignore it completely. But, again, going back to the, like, it's almost impossible, I think, for me to make an entire day where that's not happening, where I'm not in a room like this right now. Like, we're in a fucking cage right now, and there's Wi-Fi and shit being shot all around us. Like, it is
all
what
over your face.
Yeah, all over your face right now. You're getting it. So, I mean, there's things like that, and I'm not that weird about it that I would choose not to be a podcaster because we were going to be getting all this shit. Like, it's like it is what it is. Like, I'm not gonna change my life that much, but I'm also not such an asshole where I'm like going to be naive to all this stuff that we know is not ideal for body. Even if we know it isn't going to kill you, we know enough that we know it's not good for your body. That's enough for me to make like the conscious effort to try and reduce the consumption or try and limit the exposure of these things.
The way I look at it is like this. If you were to look at a pie chart and when you work on something, it affects a percentage of that pie chart, activity, diet, and sleep is like 90-something% of it. Everything else is a much smaller percentage. I guess you could throw relationships and that kind of stuff in there as well. Those are all the big rocks. Like, worry about those things first. And if those things aren't taken care of, you're kind of wasting your time worrying about all these other things. Like, if you're sitting down watching TV and you don't exercise and you're eating organic gummy worms, and you're like, well, they're organic, I'm really helping. You're not really helping yourself. You're kind of missing the big picture.
Right.
So look at those big things first, start there, and then you can kind of move down the line of things you want to kind of worry about. And look, children tend to be more sensitive to a lot of these things. So when we talk about like the plastics and chemicals that are in cosmetics or lotions or toothpaste or shampoo, because a child is developing, they're going to be more sensitive to very weak endocrine disruptors or chemicals that may attach to certain receptors in their body. So you may want to be a little bit more vigilant with your kids than you are with yourself. But again, these things I would say focus on, like if all the if Americans just got exercise and diet down, I think we'd see a huge impact, obviously, in everybody's health for the positive, even if they were still using, non-organic food.
Now, are you guys, because this is, I don't know, this is a great question because it's making me spinning my wheels right now. Like, I feel like I'm not the person who is so pretentious about it that I won't do something because of that. Like, because of, this might be, but at the same time, too, I'll make the effort to change my shampoo out, change my toothpaste out. My soap is different. Try and limit the amount of times that I microwave plastic. Like, if these are all things that turn off the Wi-Fi, wear my blue blockers at night, but I'll also break all those rules too. I'm also someone who just got back from Tahoe. I'm stuck with the shampoo that they have, the soap that they're using.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? I had to reheat some plastic container and eat something. And I didn't not do those things because I know it's not ideal for my body. But at the same time too, in my home, I've made those choices. I use Tom's toothpaste. I've changed to the Bronner
Well,
stuff.
it's like why you don't bring a scale and just your 6-pack bags everywhere you go anymore.
Same thing.
It's
right. Great point.
You're just putting it in everybody's face that like, oh, you guys are.
Yes.
It's not just that.
Yes.
It's the quality.
It is, though.
It's your quality of life. You know, I think if you get to the point
because you have less friends.
Well, right.
Even if you wanted to go on the opposite
that-
end of it, right? Like say, you're all in technology and like you want to be the first adopter, all this stuff. Like you look at Google Glass. Yeah, like that was the dorkiest looking shit I've ever seen. And everybody responded that way. Even though it was really cool, you could do cool shit. But it's like, there's just certain things that you just recognize right away. Like,
Well,
you look like an idiot.
There's a quality of life. So using your example, Justin, of the person with the scale, right?
Yeah.
You can be so fanatical about your diet and exercise.
No, that was a great
It
analogy.
actually reduces your quality of life.
Right.
So yes, you're eating perfectly and you're exercising on a crazy schedule, but your quality of life is shit because it has taken over your life. And I think that's what we're saying. Like,
yes, I think that's a great way to put it right there is like, I'm aware of all these things. I try to make a conscious effort to limit them as much as possible in my life, but I'm also not as big of an asshole about it where I'm going to carry my scale around all the single time. That's the same exact thing. And if you were trying to, and not to say that if someone was set a goal for New Year's that, hey, I'm going to limit X, Y, Z in my life. Like I respect that because it's something you're trying to create a new habit in your life. But the way I live my life with all these things is I'm not anti them because I think they're woo-woo. I'm also not so concerned about them that I won't do social things with other people because I can't be exposed to that shit.
Next question is from Tuba Dan. If you were asked to train someone from my 600-pound life, what would you do? Where would you begin?
Gosh, have you guys ever watched that show?
I haven't watched. I've heard of it though.
I haven't seen a whole lot of it. How about you, Justin? Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have seen it. My Courtney loves that show. I don't know if it's because she also likes hoarders. It's almost like
Isn't that weird how we gravitate?
It's
to
weird.
things? I can relate to her with that. So remember the 16 and pregnant thing, right? That's my show. Right?
It's like watching a train wreck.
I don't know what it is. What I've attributed it to, because it's only when I'm sick that I want to watch it. I think it makes me feel better about my life.
I think that's what it is.
I think that's why you watch that stuff. You watch a 600-pound person like destroying their life. You watch somebody hoarding all their shit, and you watch
You're
somebody.
Like, whoa, that really escalated.
Yeah, like it makes you feel better about because we all got shit going on in our life. I don't care who you are. There's something in your life that isn't perfect or could be better. And so when you see somebody on TV that is just fucking up big time, it makes you feel better about
I'm
yourself.
not doing so bad.
Yeah.
You know what this show would be called 100 years ago? My 300-pound life.
Yeah.
It's 600 pounds. Holy.
Yeah, that's the new crazy.
Like they have to find, that's the weight that they have to find in order for people to be like, whoa. Like if it was my 350-pound life,
Wouldn't be a big deal.
That's
you got to put in a lot of work.
They'd be like, that's my Uncle John. I don't need to watch that.
Yeah, right.
You know? So what does the show do? It just highlights their struggle and what's going on with them?
Are they trying to lose weight? I think they're trying to lose weight. I think
they're trying to lose. And I think they do all the doctor's appointments and all this, and it's frustrating for me to watch. That's why I didn't really pay close attention to like the premise of the show, other than these people are like so. It's frustrating because the doctor is like, you could just tell has this like the same thing he tells all of them. And none of them listen, and then the struggling process of trying to get them to understand, how to better their life by implementing these like really basic things that they can do and they can have before they give them the surgery. It's like, so this whole process of them trying to get this surgery and everything.
It's crazy because after New Year's, Jessica and I were just drinking like crazy and having a good time. And after that, I said I'm gonna be abstinent from all stimulants, all depressants. So no alcohol, no cannabis, no caffeine, nothing at all for the whole month of January. And part of the reason why I wanted to do that was, I don't want to become dependent on anything, and I find myself becoming dependent on caffeine sometimes and whatever. And I realize how many people on a daily basis use substances in order to get by their day, whether it's caffeine, which is caffeine is a mind-altering substance. It's a very powerful drug. It's just everybody uses it. Alcohol, cigarettes, whatever. But really the most abused substance is food.
Absolutely.
And people use food to blunt their feelings. It's used like a drug. When you're 600 pounds, you are not eating food because you're hungry. Yeah. You're just not.
No, and that's the thing. I think now it's kind of coming back. Like most of the stories that they have, it's like really traumatic things that happen in their childhood, and like these horrific like accidents, or one of their parents died or something, and they just went in this like downward spiral. Or some of them are just like just self-sabotaging, like, and it just turns into this really humongous problem. And that's why it's like you ask what would we do with them. It's like, go to therapy.
100%.
Like go there. I don't have the skill set to even deal with somebody like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you could. For me to help someone who's 600 pounds as a trainer, they are going to have to want help.
Yeah, 95+% of the effort is going to be psychological with that person. It's already that way with average people.
It is.
Just somebody who needs to lose 15 pounds. Majority of my time now, and that's just. I mean, again, that's just. This is the evolution of probably all of us in this room as being trainers. Like at the beginning, you're so focused on, like, and I'm sure this person who's asking this question is like, I wonder what exercises they would do.
Yep.
It's like, I'm not even thinking about that. Like, I'm thinking about, why did you get here? How did we get here? I need to unpack all of that and figure out what's going on with you psychologically and try and address that with you. That doesn't require any movement. That's just you sitting down with me, talking and getting to the bottom of this, and then me helping you figure that out and then make this commitment. You have to make this commitment before we do anything. And then I think the first thing I would do is take all the food out of the house and take her car away.
They don't need a car, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of these people are stuck. Yeah. They're stuck in bed. Some of them have to get cut out of their house by the fire department. And a lot of these people are just they have a bunch of enablers. So they're literally stuck in bed.
That's the biggest problem.
They don't move.
If that's
family members just bring them food.
And that's the first thing that you would do, I think, as a trainer if you're going into.
I'd talk to the family members.
Yeah, I'm telling the family members, stop feeding him or her fucking all this shit. Like, they don't need any of that. Okay, like, just ignore them. We can fast for the first couple of weeks here. This person doesn't need to fucking eat all this food. You got plenty of storage to get them through, and that's what it is. The people that are around these people are enabling them so bad. They're allowing them, because you're right. A lot of them can't even get up to go to the refrigerator.
And there's a withdrawal period that they'll go through, just like a heroin addict. I mean, you take somebody who's addicted to opiates or heroin. There's a period of time that they're going to go through where, what do they say? You're not talking to the person, you're talking to the drug. They're going to say things. They're going to act in particular ways. Same thing's going to happen with this food withdrawal. You take someone who's 600 pounds and you take away their drug of choice.
They're going to get angry.
They're going to get angry. They're going to feel all kinds of crazy emotions. They're going to, they've lost their coping mechanism. You know, imagine, like, all of us have coping mechanisms. Imagine if someone ripped that away from you, how you would feel. You'd have to figure out a new way to cope. So 100%. Therapy would be the first place I would go. Now, if somebody hired me and said, look, I really want help. I don't know what to do. And I want to lose this weight, but this is very difficult for me. What can we do? Well, the first thing I would do, and this is how I would approach most people, this is just much more intense, is I'd start with, in this particular case, would be very, very light activity. And then rather than taking foods away, I would include foods. And I'd say, okay, listen, for now, we're not going to change your food. But what I want you to do is I want you to have one serving of vegetables every day. Can you do that? But it's got to be plain vegetables. We're not going to cover it in nacho cheese or whatever. And I would start somewhere like that. And then maybe the next step I would do is I'd say, okay, you can continue eating what you eat, but the only thing you can drink is water. Because most of these people in this
drinking soda like crazy
constantly. Yeah. I watched like one. Dew. It wasn't an episode of My 600-Pound Life. It was another. There was this Mexican man in Mexico who's so big. He was like 800-something pounds, and he literally every meal that he had would have a liter or two of soda.
Yeah.
Every meal.
Yeah.
And a meal would consist of a large pizza. He'd have 5 or 6 meals a day. So it'd be like a large pizza, a gallon of ice cream, and
fried chicken,
and a liter of soda.
Yeah, it's just like a plethora of crazy stuff.
Yeah, so I would say something like, okay, for the last 2 meals, all you could do is drink water or whatever. it would be very, very slow steps. The problem is when you're dealing with someone who's 600 pounds, sometimes many times medical intervention is necessary because you don't have a lot of time.
Oh, so, yeah. Something like that. Someone asked me before, like, this is where I think, stapling your stomach is acceptable because this person is.
Yeah, what do they have? A year?
Yeah, right.
2 years left.
Yeah, borderline killing themselves right now, and they can't even get off the couch. It's like, okay, well,
isn't also the big concern if you put somebody under anesthesia that's that big, like they could suffocate or like they'll die.
They have to imagine the amount of weight.
Yeah,
that they like some of them can't lay flat because they suffocate under their own weight.
Yeah,
I watched one where the guy
that's so crazy.
They turned him over and he started panicking, and they were monitoring his heart rate, and they had to move in a better position.
Think about that. I never even thought about that. Like if you're 600, 800 pounds and you roll over, that's like a 400-pound person.
Yeah, how are you going to get
sitting
up?
On your chest?
And you're not strong because you're in bed all the time.
Yeah.
So it's laborious. It's very laborious to breathe. I used to train a lot of surgeons, and one of my clients did perform a gastric bypass on somebody who was very, very big. And he's like, and I used to ask him, like, what is it like? Like, what is it like operating on someone with that much, body fat? And he's like, well, you're cutting through a lot
of mass
of body fat, and you have to know where you're going because you could literally think you're cutting down
because it's shift left.
Yeah,
right so
and
much.
you could cut over to the side, and not. He's like, it's actually requires a lot of skill.
Wow.
And he's telling me like how thick. He would show me how thick the layers of just body fat were that he'd have to cut through, and like just repeated cuts to get through this tissue in order to get to the area that you need to operate.
So wouldn't we? I think we'd all agree, like the same way that I would treat somebody like that is the same way if I got handed like a hardcore heroin addict that came like the very first day.
It's an addict.
It's like
Pretty
I'm
much
not
the same,
like taking that heroin addict through a bunch of squats and exercises like that. I'm not doing them any real good. Like I need to address the root cause of why they're addicted to heroin, and I need to fix that first before I put them on a nutrition plan or work them out at all. The same thing goes for this person that has eaten themselves to 600 pounds. There's something that the addiction there is so massive, and that's such a hurdle.
There's a lot of pain there, man.
Yeah, that's such a huge hurdle that teaching an exercise or trying to put together a diet for that person, we're so beyond that we have to figure this piece out first.
When I see people who are really obese, like very, very obese, what I personally see is I see a lot of pain, and I see what it looks to me in this. Maybe this is the way that people need to start. And I don't mean shaming people by any means stretch them out. I feel a lot of empathy towards people, but it's no different than looking at someone and seeing their drug addiction. You just don't necessarily see it sometimes. You can't necessarily see if someone is an alcoholic or whatever because they're not maybe drunk right in front of you. But when you see someone walking around 400-something pounds, you're looking at an addict, and there's a lot of pain there. And so I feel a lot of empathy, and I see that. I look at them, I go, wow, that person is really bearing, what they're feeling with food or soda or whatever. So that's a really tough situation. The hardest part about it is food is necessary. You can't cut it out. Yeah. It's not like a drug. Like, okay, you're never having heroin again. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like you have to eat. Imagine if you told a heroin
addict. A little bit of heroin.
Oh, yeah.
Let's minimize it.
Yeah, let's just minimize it. And and by the way, heroin is available everywhere, all over the place. And people around you will be doing it all the time. Yeah. And every celebration uses heroin.
Family's going to pressure you to eat their heroin pie. You know what I mean?
It's a difficult situation.
Mom. Yeah.
Next question is from 4A Schneider. What are the benefits of running in the sand? Are you increasing power or stride frequency or both?
What was Taylor's response? I love that he's
running in the sand.
Yeah, do you guys notice he's answering these questions?
Yeah.
He's like the benefits being there, looking at the ocean and whatever.
Yeah,
having a barbecue.
Was that what it was?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You get a view of the beach, and you get to pet strangers' dogs.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, he's cool. I love that. It's so our audience knows, because some people may have no fucking clue if you're brand new coming in. Taylor manages the Mind Pump Media IG, and so when you see someone responding to you on there, it's normally him with sarcasm. So I hope there's people that get that. Hopefully they pick up on that.
So, yeah, I actually used to really enjoy running on the beach. In between, like for training, I would do that kind of leading into season. And as far as the benefits are concerned, I just know that like being an unstable surface, had some good carryover to when I would then take it onto the grass field and to be able to, stabilize and really like ground my feet and like drive these ground forces and get power and be able to adjust and be more adaptable on the field.
Now, would you guys say that you have to be mindful of how much of it you're doing for a specific sport? Because like we talk about a lot with sports, the mistake that a lot of people make is they hear about the benefits of training in sand. And so then they do most of their training.
All sand.
Right.
Yeah,
mostly all this training is they're running the hills in the sand. They're doing all their exercises.
Their running technique is fucked.
Right. And it's like if you're using training, running in the sand for a specific sport, no matter what that sport is, I think there is a lot of benefits to it. The instability of it, the how hard it is for you to take off, and so you feel like if you get really good at running the sand, then there's this nice carryover. But then there's also this where I think that can also be a drawback if you're not doing enough training specific to what your sport is and how you
most of your
unless
training,
you're playing football on the sand.
Oh, you should always incorporate the actual skill. So that's the applied skill of like whatever you're going to be doing. So if it's on a field and you're running like 20 yards at a time and like these intervals, like that's what your main focus is. That's what the main structure of your programming is going to consist of. So that way you get really good at that, specifically. And then this is going to contribute towards that and like add more variables.
Yeah,
to that.
most of your training, if you're an athlete, most of your training needs to be your sport.
Yeah, as specific to what you're doing as possible.
Yeah, so like I'll give you a great example. Like weight training will benefit most sports, right? You get stronger, you're going to do better at your sport. But let's say you're a football player or a baseball player and you're like, ooh, weight training helps me with my sport. So what I'm going to do now is lift weights 5 days a week and I'm going to play football 1 day a week. Well, you're going to become a shitty football player. So it's going to happen. You'll be better at weights than you will be at football.
Right.
So sand running has got some benefits in the sense that running in sand provides more resistance. You're not able to go as fast. You're probably working the muscles of the feet and the ankles more because of the instability, like Justin said. But it shouldn't be the majority of your training running at all. I would say this would be like a once or twice a week thing that you would throw in every once in a while just to throw something new at yourself. There's a bit of a misconception that running in sand is safer because it's softer. The reality is it can actually be more dangerous because it's softer. So, and I just want to communicate that because I know people are like, oh, I heard running can be hard on the joints, but running the sand is a lot easier on the joints because it's so soft. It's like, well, not so fast. If you're not very stable and strong, twisting an ankle or hurting your toe or whatever, or your knee.
Now, I can also see where someone like me who is not playing a sport or anything would see lots of benefit. I would totally get
just
into
for a workout.
Yeah, for a workout. Because too, something that I've definitely noticed as I've gotten older is I just don't get enough sun. And if I can find a way to implement a training session out on a beach, every once in a while where I'm getting the natural light, for an hour or whatever. I mean, I think that's incredible. I think that has a lot of benefits. Fuck the running piece and what
bring your kettlebells. That's a great workout.
Right. So I think that there's some benefits to that. I think if we're talking about a sport, a specific sport, then you need to be doing, like we always say, the specific sport and the way you would be training on the field or on the court or whatever sport you're playing. That should be 90+% of your training, and this is like the occasional thing. Now, if you're somebody who just wants to get in good shape or be explosive of a runner and improve upon that, I think there's lots of cool benefits just because you're outside in training that you're getting.
One of the other benefits of running the sand is it's often done barefoot.
Right. Yeah.
And you get to touch the earth with your feet. There's a lot of people that talk about the benefits of grounding. Anecdotally, I notice benefits when I go barefoot in the dirt or in the sand. I do feel better. And I don't know if it's just from the tactile sensation of my barefoot touching something. And if I'll get the same benefit walking in the house, feels like I get more of a benefit when I'm on grass or sand. So there's that you get from that. There's of course, the instability that we talked about, the range of motion that your ankle tends to move in. So you have to have decent, range of motion in your ankles to go and run hard in the sand. For example, I'll use an example, Adam. You tore your Achilles. Probably not a good idea to go power running in the sand because the flexion and extension that happens in the sand,
Right, I'm challenging it way more than I'm ready for.
way more than you may, indifferently, I should say, than you will on the ground, because the ground you have more power. So, but as far as a workout is concerned, it's fucking awesome. I love working out in the sand. It's one of my favorite. I mean, I wish I had access to it all the time, because I would go out there all the time. The only athletes I could say that should probably run a lot of the sand are athletes who compete in the sand.
Right, volleyball, sand volleyball player or something like that, right?
Yeah, yep. Or what do they have? Beach soccer team.
I guess
now?
they do. Yeah, the beach soccer. They have this interesting sport that's like volleyball, but with a soccer, where they
I've seen
juggle it and then they
Joe Rogan posted that a while back.
Yeah,
right?
I have no idea what it's called, but it's that looks crazy. Like that looks a really tough sport.
But yeah, there's also a difference between running in dry sand and running in wet sand. Wet sand is going to be much more firm. Still different benefits. Still some benefits versus running in dry sand.
And the ultimate for conditioning would be, sand hills. And I used to do that as well to really, you want to put all the forces against you in terms of like not having any footing or anything that's like really solid, and you feeling like you're just spinning your wheels, but also just, enduring through that and really trying to power up. That is a grueling conditioning workout.
You got me thinking about all kinds of workouts on the beach. I love doing yoga and stretching in the sand on the beach because of the sun. Then, of course, the sand is real comfortable to lay on if you're doing a particular yoga pose or you're stretching. Have you guys ever seen videos of fighters who will dive down deep underwater and they'll pick up a boulder and they'll run with it while they're holding their breath?
I remember watching BJ Penn.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That sounds interesting to me. I don't know what the benefits of that are.
Because the lung capacity, so he has to hold his breath. So think about a sport like MMA fighting, where you could have someone's arm around your mouth or do things like that. See, to me, that's cool because that makes sense for someone like him. I think it's a little ridiculous for the average person to be doing something like that.
Didn't he just fight and lose? Didn't he just tap out to somebody?
Yes. Yeah, I missed that fight and I ordered that fight. I have to go back and see if I can watch it.
Yeah, I noticed you posted about the other fight. I watched that fight.
Which one?
Did you watch the girls?
Cyborg.
Yes.
And,
what a great fight.
She got knocked out.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
Nunes, dude.
She lit her up.
And that's the thing about Nunes. Like you watch like her train and you watch her old fights. She has so much like power and like really accurate power that she applies, and it was crazy to watch her come out of the gates, no fear. Like everybody feared Cyborg.
Well, I watched her. So Katrina and I watched that entire season of when she came up in Ultimate Fighter. So I watched her when she first came on the scene, and she was
Did she win that?
Yes,
Oh,
she was a badass.
She's ferocious.
Yeah, no, she's a badass.
Yeah.
I wish, I don't know why I didn't bet that, because I thought it was going to be enough, but it wasn't that great of. It wasn't enough to be like a no-brainer, like, oh shit, she's like a huge underdog.
What's his name fight too?
She was a slight underdog.
Who,
John
John
Jones.
Jones?
Yeah,
he won.
He won, right? Yeah. So the turning ball or whatever helped him out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. Anyways, yeah, that's so annoying. That's like the common thing. Everybody's like, oh, the steroids work.
They're trying to put the rematch of him and Cormier again.
Bro, he's the most, in my opinion, he's the best, most talented fighter.
He's the
I've
most
ever
skilled
seen.
fighter out there, and it's like, yeah,
I don't know, man. I'm really excited to see Cormier and him go at it, dude.
Did they fight twice already?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah.
But I feel like Cormier's come. I think he's one of the best fighters right now. I really do. So we'll see if he comes back, and I think what should happen is, instead of him cutting down to John Jones' weight, John Jones
should put on weight.
Yes,
and come up to heavy.
because
That'd be awesome.
The fights they've had. Cormier's had to come down to 205, and we've already seen him fight. He fights better at heavyweight.
He does. Yeah.
You look at his body structure. He's a thicker, kind of overweight guy.
He was a gas tank.
Yeah, he's and I think pushing him to cut all the way down to the 205 class.
I love guys like Cormier because he proves that you cannot judge how tough a guy is by the way they look.
Him and Fedor,
You just can't
there's
do
something
it.
to that.
You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so check this out. Go to mindpumpfree.com and go check out all of the free information that we will give you for free. It's free guides. We got a bunch of free guides on there. Some of them teaching you how to squat more, build your legs, work your core, build a better chest, your calves. I even have a guide on there for personal trainers to help them become more successful. Again, mindpumpfree.com.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.